Here.
And Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, here.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. And let's see. Tonight, we're going to have Michelle. Michelle, did I call on you before? That was last month. Let's do Bonnie. You're going to lead us tonight. Pledge of Allegiance. You know the words? All right, we'll follow.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So let's go ahead and do the approval of minutes, please.
I request the approval of the public hearing minutes on July 14th, 2021, as the minutes from the work session. And then the regular meeting minutes of August.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Okay, so Nick made the motion, Pete made the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to stop right here for just a second, because since last we met, a lot of things happened in this world and locally, not the least of which we saw 13 service members killed in Afghanistan. But additionally, we saw a good friend of the township pass away from COVID-19. It's a tragic situation, but former state representative Doug Green passed. And I would ask tonight that on both counts, if we could just have a moment of silence in respect to those two issues. Thank you. Problem was, I could hear in my ear, I could hear Doug Green up in heaven saying, "There's no way you can do a whole minute of silence, Alan." All right, so let's move forward. I'd like to move, there's a couple of motions some new business that I'd like to move to the front of the agenda. We've got a couple of motions for new hires. So Chief Wright, why don't we lead off with you and do your new hires, please.
I request a motion to approve the appointment of Craig Belcher as a full-time firefighter paramedic at the established rate for the collective bargaining agreement pending successful completion of all pre-employment requirements, obtaining certification as Ohio Fire Safety Inspector, and serving a one-year probationary period, noting that all associated expenses to be that of the township.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Do you have any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Welcome aboard. Craig, you want to get some photos with?
Yes,
him, or-
we also have the oath that I gave you just
Okay.
before the meeting to
And
do
I
for him.
passed it.
Debbie's got it.
All right, so we'll do that. Do you want to do them both at the same time?
I just have the full-time
Okay.
person here tonight, or the part-time member we're hiring is not present.
Okay. Just come on down. Come on, guys. You're making me put my coat back on.
Take his tie off.
Not good. You want this? So now we get to do the oath, okay? So we're going to start off with, repeat after me. I, Craig Belcher, do solemnly swear or affirm. Do solemnly swear or affirm. That I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
I will support the laws of the Constitution of the United States of America,
The state of Ohio.
the state of Ohio,
And Pierce Township.
and Pierce Township,
To which I am appointed.
to which I am appointed
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
Will discharge the duties of this office.
will discharge the duties of this office.
I will faithfully and honorably strive to protect our future.
I will faithfully and honorably protect,
Strive
strive to protect our future.
Protect the safety, lives, and property of our citizens.
Protect the safety, to protect the
Lives
safety, lives,
and property
and property
of our citizens
of our citizens
and my fellow You see, it's easy for me because I'm reading.
Yeah. So, you gotta do it.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi there, T. Hi, thank you. You know.
I got it. Got it. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, Craig, you've got another one up.
I request a motion to approve the appointment of Elijah Hammonds as a part-time firefighter EMT at the established rate pending successful completion of all associated pre-employment requirements and a one-year probationary period, noting that the cost of all associated pre-employment requirements is that of the township.
I'll make the motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you. John, you have a hire as well?
Yes, I have two. Only one was ever made. Service Director John Kohler requested a motion to hire Trevor Smith, position of maintenance worker 3, Park Cemetery grounds, established rate of $18 an hour starting on September 27th. The pay rate will increase to $18.50 after obtaining this Class A CDL.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, Trevor, please rise. I don't have we don't have one of those things to swear in, but come on down, we'll get our picture taken.
Do you really want your picture taken with us?
Yeah, I know. It's really chomping at the bit.
Look at that, he's already moving stuff. We'll do it, we'll do it.
Keep ready to work.
Wait, it starts with 27. Wait, take the lens out. One more. Thank you. So,
Just the name.
now see, Kristin, that's what you could have, I mean, geez. All right, so let's go back and get into the regular part of our agenda unless you have another.
I have another one. Really wait until-
No, let's do it. Do it.
Service Director John Kohler requested a motion to hire Michael White to the position of maintenance worker 3, Park Cemetery and Grounds at the established rate of $18 starting on September 27th. Pay rate will increase to $18.50 after obtaining the CDL Class A license.
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Okay, so we're all set. All the hires are done. Now let's go back and jump to our regularly scheduled broadcasting. So departmental celebrations and updates. Let's start off with Chief Bachman and the police department.
First one is the police banquet. The Police appreciation banquet was held last month. And Officer Caitlin Powell, who won an award for her arrest of a violent offender. Very nice event, it's been going on for a year. Trustees were there, so thank you for attending. Over 300 people were there, and that was good food from the Oasis. And also, we have a liquor license is being applied for by Stonehouse. I believe it's going to be, well, I know it's going to be a brewery there at 104 West Main. So that's going to be kind of neat. You all have the right as trustees to ask for a hearing. I do have paperwork on it. I did the police side of paperwork and sent it in. So if you want a hearing, get with Deborah. She will have the paperwork after, and you can say yes or no. But there's, I don't know anything more about it, but it's going to be a nice brewery. They're going to add on to the house, I believe, and make it a very nice establishment and restaurant.
Diane?
Debbie,
Oh, Debbie.
We called her Deborah.
not Deborah.
So you're telling us that after the meeting, in order to set a hearing, then we should talk to Deborah, huh?
Debbie.
So do we have to set a hearing?
No, you do not. You have the option that you want to hear.
We could give them the liquor license without setting.
You
a
don't
hearing?
give it to them.
Oh.
They apply for one. Paperwork goes up to the state, but you have the right to ask for a hearing.
But we have to go through.
You don't have to do anything. Debbie is the one, the financial officer. Is the one that you sent to,
Thank you so much.
So to ask a question on that point, so the purpose of the hearing, would that be essentially to notify neighbors in the event that there were objections and that type of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I do.
I'm just redecorating because this was put
Oh.
aside and.
Lieutenant Bennett posted, we just got our crime reports from the country on uniform crime reporting system, which lists all reportable crimes. The far majority of police departments in Claremont County are in this reporting system. And it just lists your crime, violent crimes, property crimes, and you can compare them to years in the past. So for 2020, which is where we just got the paperwork, our violent crime has decreased 21% from 14 in 2019 to 11 in 2020. And violent crime consists of murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. And our property crime in 2019 was 242, dropped to 175, 27% drop. We did see an increase in burglary and B&Es, but overall, nice report for Pierce Township, and it lists all the other departments except for a couple in the county. And if you are bored, by all means, get on our Facebook page and you can see it all and compare the stats with this year compared to last year. And then lastly, talking about Facebook, we entered the state's putting on something called Light Ohio Blue, where you can submit a picture of your police vehicle. And it goes by number of residents. So we're in category 3. I think it was maybe 13,000 to 30,000 residents. And there's 12 vehicles, and you're trying to pick which you think is the nicest looking police vehicle. We have one of our Suburbans in there, and out of the 12 cars, we're number 4. So tell your friends to vote. I don't think we win anything, but it'd be nice to say we are in the top couple or even win it. So that's called Light Ohio Blue, and we're in category 3. And that's it for the police department.
Thank you.
That's heavy.
Thank you, Chief. All right. Chief Wright.
During the month, we did get a very nice thank you card and some food items from a family who recently responded to a run to assist. It was much appreciated. Also during the month, often people ask about the runs we make, and we say we respond to pretty much anything and everything. There's a picture of the card and the large amount of items they dropped off for us. Can you go to the next picture, please, Mr. McCarthy? Thank you. So we did during the month get dispatched to assist in rescuing a horse from a pond that a resident had. The horse was injured, had rolled down the hill into the pond. It took us a couple hours. We used a rope system, thanks to the service department who came to our aid to assist, and Chief Diamond from Union Township, who I called because he has horses, came out to give us a hand since we're not in the horse business. Definitely a unique situation. Our crews did a fantastic job, adapting and rescuing a horse. It's not something that we typically do. Unfortunately, after a couple hour struggle, the horse didn't make it, but definitely a unique experience for us. Some updates. I've been working with Claremont County EMA and one of our residents on Old 52 for a potential FEMA property buyout. It's a house that is a repetitive loss property. It gets flooded every year. So we worked with Ohio EMA and got some information. EMA Director Haverkos has completed a pre-application that's due by the end of the month. We've met with the resident. He actually originally reached out to us inquiring about the potential because he's just tired of getting flooded every year, tired of vacating his house every year and living out of a camper. And so we are working through that process. EMA is taking lead on it. I think the county is going to be the applicant. There's some potential down there. So with the FEMA buyout, it drastically deed restricts the property.
Right.
But with the location of it, we have talked to Water Resources. They weren't interested in being the applicant, but they do see some value in wellhead protection that they have property adjacent to. And also there might be an opportunity with the Park District for some type of a trail access for the bike trail along 52. So we're working through that. I'll keep you updated. I just wanted to make you aware. Also, so everyone's aware today, thank you to Anderson Township and Gray's Towing. So Anderson's allowing us to utilize their portable burn trailer. So it's up at the Lewis and White Oak property. That way we can train up there. Also gives us the opportunity to get some of our mutual aid neighboring departments to train with us. So we will be conducting some burning operations up there next week, but it's propane driven. So there should be minimal smoke, not a huge impact to the community, but people may see us up there. I know we talked last month about flu vaccines. I want to thank Mr. Campbellis for helping, flu vaccines a little bit different than what we typically deal with. And when we started looking into it, there were, I think, 12 different variations. So we needed a little bit of help. After the meeting tonight, I'm driving down to meet with our medical director to get our drug license signed so that we can update that with the state. We've got flu vaccine on hold with a vendor. We just have to get the drug license updated and we'll be able to offer flu vaccines to our employees at a cheaper rate than what we paid an outside vendor last year. As everyone I think is aware, this year is the 20th anniversary of September 11th. There are a number of remembrances around the county. I know the commissioners are doing one in Batavia that morning. There's an event in New Richmond, one in Loveland, one in Milford, and some around the city. So if anybody's looking for an opportunity, there's plenty of things around. The commissioners also today did proclaim September 11th as National Patriot Day. So there were several of us that were down there today to represent that proclamation. The last thing I have, I know there was some discussion last month in light of the recent events, some difficulties we had in recruiting members, some ongoing challenges in the fire service in general, and then the addition of the former village to Pierce. I know we've talked a little bit. Administrator Roki diligently worked, and we just got a proposal within the last few days from an outside partner to come in and do an evaluation of the fire department. And I think there's a benefit to it. If there are, with the ongoing issues and problems, if there's a way that we can address and improve them, it's a benefit to everybody. With the addition of Amelia, I know we've talked in the past about future needs of the department in the township and whether or if or when an additional station may be needed or staffing needs. I think those are all valid pieces that could be looked at by an evaluation in addition to the other pieces that they would evaluate. So we do have that proposal. If anybody has any questions.
Well, just kind of a statement. I do think that it's incumbent upon us to review our departments and make sure that we're providing the best service possible for the public and certainly the taxpayers and make sure they're getting their money's worth, really. I think that this proposal, well, I just received it, a couple days ago. I've taken a look at it. I think this is a very comprehensive look at the fire and EMS, and will give us some very good milestones that we can try to hit moving forward. I do think it's a good time, an important time in the department to start doing this and take a hard look at how things are going and aren't going. So that said, as I said, I just had a chance to briefly look at it. I don't know that we're ready to actually approve this yet, but if it's okay with, I don't know that we need a motion tonight, but given the gravity of it, I'd like a motion. So what I would ask is that we do a motion directing the fire chief and the administrator to go through this, negotiate scope and cost, and then bring it back to us in October for approval, unless there are some objections from my colleagues here.
So the motion that you're suggesting is basically just to study it in more detail, narrow the focus, discuss the price in more detail.
Correct.
Okay, not to adopt or
Not
approve.
tonight, but this, I do think that some variation of this needs to be adopted. But sitting down.
Directing staff to refine.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to take a harder look at it and make sure that we cross our T's, dot our I's in regards to vetting this properly. I don't know if this is something, typically I'm all about multiple bids and keeping the cost down, but it very well be very competitive, but I think that it's probably a pretty niche type of business that you really want the right person to do it, I would think. So yeah, I would be all for looking into this a little bit harder and maybe throwing something on the agenda for October.
Right. And I just want to make sure that we're also looking at everything we need to look at in this scope. I don't want to leave anything unturned. I want us to look at everything and come back with solid, actionable answers so that we can get things righted.
Thank you. And I apologize for dropping it on you tonight. It was a lot
It's not
of
a
work to
problem.
pull together in a short amount of time, and
We just received it on Tuesday.
No, that's not a problem. I just think this is the better way to go because it does give us a chance to make sure that the scope is as thorough and as fulsome as it needs to be moving forward. Because you only get a crack at this once and we need to do it.
So I'll make a motion directing our staff to further study and potentially refine this proposal to include the cost.
I will second.
So a motion and a second. You have any further discussion, Craig?
thank you.
Loretta?
No, thank you.
All right. That said, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
And
Yes. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
You have anything else?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Okay, so you'll also notice on our agenda that we've broken out service streets and cemetery from parks because we always roll through the parks and we always forget to do it. So you guys have a healthy part of the agenda tonight. So John, why don't you go ahead with the service streets and cemetery part?
As far.
You don't start off real good when you're like, has it been that bad of a month?
Everything is going really well. We got a nice email from a resident. We went out and did a culvert pipe for them, and she wrote a nice email back to us stating how professional and courteous that our staff was while they were out there, and very professional. And that's great to get feedback like that. So the cemetery has been very, very busy. It just keeps, it's a
Is that a
sad
good thing
thing,
or a bad thing?
but it's just been overwhelmed. They got like 4 burials this week
Wow.
alone. So that just keeps continuing to plug along. And for parks, we're just, there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
We got Arrow, we did some work down at Arrowhead this week. So, tried to get rid of the old playground where the gravel and stuff was. We got most of it done. We hauled some dirt down there today to grade up and then seed and straw.
How we doing on Dorado Court?
I talked to Barrett today. They are coming. They're gonna start Friday on the curb and gutter repairs. With salt, they'll have a guy here Friday, salt cutting, the curbs that are to be replaced. And then they will then just go through the motions. And then eventually, once they get all the curb and gutter done, then the paving crew will follow up and pave everything. So they should be finished up with everything by the end of next month.
Good. Have you communicated with the folks on Dorado Court?
I have not sent them anything. I just talked to them today.
Okay.
And they gave me a date.
When we get a chance, let's shoot an email out to the group. They'll be happy to hear that. We'll loop back around to one other thing. Kind of has to do with service. How did the truck thing go on Sunday? The escort of the semi to take pictures of 9 Mile. Okay, all right. We tried. It was a safety issue. There are some residents along there that were concerned, so they wanted to film the roadway, but they asked for a couple officers to be there so they didn't, get hurt. So apparently it didn't transpire. So
One of the residents asked me to tell you that was a no-go.
okay.
I forgot.
Thanks. So I put him on the spot for that. Is that all?
That's all I got.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Parks, Green Space Committee. Yes, you have to come up here now. Well, so here's the thing.
Move the podium to the side. We had it turned a little better, so it would get people closer to the
Okay.
microphone.
So here's the thing. I keep getting people to watch the show from YouTube and elsewhere. And they have been complimentary when we bring people to the podium because they can't see people's faces when they're out there. You can see it from here.
And/or
So,
here.
or here. So that's why. Normally, I just let people sit in the audience like we always did, but I think it's a
Understood.
good change. So fire away.
All right, so a few things coming out of the Parks Committee meeting. If you recall from the community meeting at Grove Park on July 22nd, kind of the consensus was of the community to have the skateboard park removed. And Park National Bank had reached out to Randy Page, wanting some volunteer opportunity for them to do some work as a part of their United Way kickoff campaign. And so what we talked about in the Parks meeting is we could use them on Friday, September 17th to dismantle the equipment. And John would have a couple of his guys from the service department pick the equipment up and haul it back here and dispose of it. So we wanted to request approval for that from the trustees. That was something that was the consensus of the community for that skate park.
Seemed
Agreed.
pretty definitive at the last meeting.
It did seem that way. Michelle, do you agree?
Yes.
On the material,
You were there. Do you agree about the skate park? I said Renee. Oh, Renee. Okay.
are the bulky materials going to be recycled, reused, or
They'll be
the metal, the metal?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Great.
we need a motion to direct service department and volunteers to dismantle, remove.
And of course, the volunteers will all sign waivers
Yes,
so that they, okay.
yes.
I will make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Yes.
Then just a reminder, we brought up last month about the cleanup day on November the 13th. we'll start kind of Facebook blasting that around the beginning of October. But that'll be for removing invasives around walking paths at Grove Park. So just a reminder on that. And see, Mark Can, someone reached out to him, the American Foundation, the local chapter of the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention has reached out to conduct a walk, a fundraising walk. It's called the Out of the Darkness Walk for Saturday, October the 10th. It's assumed that, township services will not be required for the event. We think it's a worthy cause. I think you all received the email on that. We recommend approval for that event to take place. Parks Committee members and volunteers will be supporting that as well and be in attendance, for the event. But wanted to ask your formal approval for that.
Sure.
Doug, is that mic on?
I don't know.
Can you all hear? I couldn't tell. So I got some looks from the audience that y'all couldn't hear. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
What time is it at on the 10th? We have a time on
What
that?
was the time on that? What was the time on the walk?
Start time?
Yeah. Go back and
There
find
could
that.
be a liaison sent to staff to know.
We really don't have anything nailed down yet. We have lots of details coming. But some of that. Right now, we're just trying to get approval and we're trying to get information back. But Cincinnati chapter will requirements meet, when they help us with things like that. So that's where we are. We should be getting that information pretty quickly at that time. That's there we go. And also, in order to avoid a catastrophe, we're trying to make this a purist team event instead of thousands of people showing up. We want to try to keep it close knit in the purist community because if we buy into the Cincinnati chapter, we get people coming from everywhere. So we're going to try to create a link that just allows people to sign up for the purist team. So we keep it small. Because we don't want to get into parking issues. Plus, we want to gain some event experience by the so that's kind of our approach.
Well, I'm all for it. I'm behind it 100%. I would assume they're going to have somewhere you can donate to. I mean, you're going to make that obvious.
There will be probably a welcome desk where people can make a contribution there or make one.
Cool.
So you're wanting to keep it small, relatively speaking. Is this something is that right? Relatively
Yes.
smaller, right?
Right.
So as such, is that something when it's time, a little bit closer, that you would want to spread out on Facebook or the newsletter?
Yeah, I think so. Within, the Pierce Township.
Right.
Facebook page. Yes.
Okay.
We get the details.
One, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just found the email and there's not a time mentioned in it, but again, we'll get those details, following approval.
Okay.
Just so that staff can stay informed in case this grows beyond what's initially been talked about here. I presume that there was some outside sponsor, some group that was coming to do this. This is initiated by a resident. I'm sorry. If this is initiated by a resident and then staff is really engaged and we become a sponsorship instead, then we just need to be mindful of that if it evolves into something different than just a group that's coming, that's organized, that's managing its own event.
This is initiated by a resident.
Insurance and other matters make a difference for
Sure.
whether, we're a formal sponsor or not,
Right.
and whether staff needs to be engaged or not.
Do we need a motion specifically to authorize this?
That's when I was going to ask the question, should we do this as a provisional motion pending other details that may come to light in the next few weeks?
Yeah, we can handle it, right? Regardless, we figure it out.
Yeah.
Just wait for more details.
Sure.
All right. Good with that?
I think it's okay. I'll motion to recommend approval of the proposal.
I will second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Okay, next up, the park bench donation program, that was implemented about 5 years ago, and the price was set at $1,500. And just with the recent volatility in materials, metals, concrete prices and all that, the committee is recommending raising that from $1,500 to $2,000 on future donations, just to cover the costs and also anticipate future volatility within the materials markets.
We need a motion for that?
Yeah, I don't know if you need a motion for that or
think
not, but it's our
I think
recommendation
we
is that take
do.
place.
Yeah, I think we do post the amount on our website. It might be a good idea to go ahead.
I
and
think we need to have a
acknowledge it.
motion on
So moved.
that. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mind if I ask a question first?
Sure.
What is the actual cost of currently as we think it is?
Just for the benches themselves, around $1,000.
Okay.
And then there's the cost of the service department, assembling those, pouring the concrete pad, setting that in place. And then the plaque that goes on those is like $170. And those are current pricing. That has increased again since this was implemented 5 years ago. So, we want to anticipate future, increases too. So right now, total cost, it's actually, at $1,500 is probably costing the township, $150, over and above what the donation is. So we just feel like rather than, incrementally going up, just a little bit right now, if we're going to go another 5 years, anticipating future increases with, aluminum pricing and that sort of thing, let's go ahead and bump it up
Okay.
for the next round and have that in place for the next 5 years.
We also provide maintenance. Should get damaged.
Sure.
Should there be repairs we need, correct?
Yes.
So any increase will cover the
Of course, we don't know, but you're guessing maybe 5 years before we look to.
Yeah, we'll just monitor it as, that we're not getting, donation requests in, all the time. But I think we'll just monitor it as we get further donations as costs continue to increase. If we need to increase it again, we can. If for some reason the, pricing stabilizes, maybe we adjust it downwards if the case may be.
Okay, I second. Then thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
One item that just came up, it is not on the agenda, another event. There's been an ad hoc committee formed out of the Parks Committee for, planning, events and programming for the parks, as we've talked about as part of the Parks Master Plan. And they had a meeting last night and one thing that came out of that was apparently in Amelia, there had been pre-COVID, a Halloween event for kids, pumpkin patch or whatever, hay rides, that type of thing. And it was just, maybe a 3-hour event, on a Saturday, but they had it at Spencer Shank Park. So we'd like to revitalize that for Spencer Shank Park. And there's a woman that's kind of new to that committee that is volunteer and willing to reach out to people that may have organized this in the past. We anticipate it just kind of being like a pumpkin patch type deal, some crafts for kids to, decorate pumpkins. Cost shouldn't be very much at all. We do have funds in the Parks Committee, but we, a couple of years ago when we had the pumpkin parade, Kroger donated a bunch of pumpkins for that. So I think we would pursue that again to get donations for this event. But I wanted to go ahead and bring it up now because they need to be planning this and make sure, there's no date established for it. Obviously, we don't want it to interfere, like on October 10th, for the walk. But we just want to put it out there for the trustees to consider. So we don't let another month pass, without, any kind of approval on that, so they can at least continue planning.
This is for this year, yeah, right?
Yeah, they'd
This
like to
is-
try and do one for this year yet, yes.
Okay.
It sounds like a great idea. Oh, we need a motion. Make a motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Yeah, I guess the only concern I have, I still see that there's a spike in this second wave of COVID, the Delta variant, and it's very much real, as we all know. And I'm a little bit hesitant, with big group activities. It's a concern, let's put it that way, but
Well, we're wearing masks anyway, so there should be.
Well, I mean, it's something too that we could monitor, and if the, conditions continue to deteriorate, we can postpone it.
I guess I would ask that only because it's hard to know where this is going.
Sure.
I mean, right now, there's I don't know if it's going this way or this way or
Right.
this way, but, I would support it, especially if we were watchful of the conditions on the ground. And if it were to look like it were going in the wrong direction, it might be the more prudent thing to do to postpone it until 2022.
Sure, no, that's understood, and I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. I think Mark is actually reaching out to Claremont County to understand guidelines in terms of the walk schedule for the 10th.
That too.
So those, we can certainly take those things into consideration for public health.
Okay. I second the motion.
To be sure, this is all outside. right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I think just from what I understood from the minutes from the meeting last night, I mean, I think probably won't do any kind of like hayride thing, just from a liability standpoint, probably more just a pumpkin patch where the kids can go pick up a pumpkin, and maybe an activity where they can decorate the pumpkin or something like that. So.
You're good.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Yeah, I think I did that wrong. Motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any further discussion of the matter? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Okay.
And the last thing was, just as far as improvements and implementing some things from the master plan. It just brought up last week, Loretta had mentioned there may be an opportunity with some ARP funds to implement some things. Some immediate things we're looking at, it's pretty high on the priority list is dealing with the ball fields and the fencing. We do still have that $10,000 grant available to us from Claremont County. But I think it's been brought up, to you in the past that pricing on the fencing materials have just gone through the roof, and it's not really feasible to look at that with just the $10,000 grant. So we've been looking at different options to even, reduce to one ball field and reconfigure it and potentially use some different material, like some sports netting that is starting to be implemented more and more on sports fields. Anyway, I guess Kleinger's has been engaged to start looking at some things, on that, but just wanted to bring that up and, just start that discussion, have it on your radar screen that, it sounds like there's some good opportunity with the ARP funds. I don't know if you want to comment any further on that.
Fire away.
Loretta.
Well, I provided a bullet point list, kind of browsing through the master plan, participating in the parks meetings, hearing priorities. Of course, the Grove Park Playground has been a top priority project we've been discussing, and the costs associated with that. But if we have funding, rather than trying to piece it together the way we've tried to imagine, calling vendors directly, looking at state bid, and then seeing who installs it and whether we can afford the proper playground surface. And we've talked about elements that are more accessible to children with handicaps, perhaps. This money could give us a more comprehensive approach if we look at these projects strategically and look at these parks as a whole rather than pieces. So that's what I've asked Kleinger's to at least do some mapping out of each park and look at each of these elements that I put together in these bullet points and come up with costs associated with each of these elements. So then we can, again, go back and prioritize these lists and see if we want to move the placement of some of these items, improve the lighting, perhaps even move the shelter at Grove Park in the long run. But, if we remove a playground and we think it would be best in a different location because we want to move another element at the same time, or as in a phase, then we would just, I think, do a much better job of all of us seeing the same information at the same time and making good decisions.
What was the initial topic brought up? The fencing?
Well, it's been high on the radar screen for quite a while, and it was in the master
On the
plan.
baseball
for
fields?
Yes.
Okay, you lost me somewhere.
Yeah, so we had
So when-
applied to address some of that through the Claremont County
Right.
Parks Levy.
Yeah, I get it. And prices go up, right?
We were awarded $10,000 for that. Initial pricing we had gotten several years ago was like $50,000 to
Yeah.
replace all the chain link fencing. The pricing now is soared to like $90,000.
Well, I was just making sure my suggestion was appropriate. You could always piece it in, right? And you're like average buying material, because the material probably will go back down, would be my guess.
It could, but
Because the manufacturing is going to kick up to meet the
Right.
demand, and it's going to drop the price back down. That usually happens for everything but gold, because
Yeah.
gold supplies.
Right. But I think there's also been discussion in long term, and with usage of the park or the usage of the ball fields and all that, would it make sense to relocate or reconfigure it also, and
Okay.
perhaps allow for some additional parking at some point in the future?
I think that's an opportunity, Doug, because,
Yeah.
especially now that the cost of skyrocketed, we're talking about that 4-foot high fence, right? The chain link,
The
the
backstop.
big thing, the whole thing, okay. But this might be a good opportunity to relook at that. And given this potential opportunity for alternative materials, like you said, netting, that could be a potential cost saver and a little bit of modernization in tow there. So I think that might be a good idea to step back and look at that. And that $10,000 grant, was that specific to the fence?
Well, and that's, yes, and we would have to go back to the county with
Like,
a different proposal to get that approved,
okay,
to be able to apply that.
okay.
Mark Can did get some rough, quotes on materials on the netting, and it is significantly less expensive than chain link. So it's definitely a thing to consider.
The only thing that worries me about the netting is it's tearing it up a lot easier than fence. But I mean, if it's significantly cheaper, then might be able to replace it 3 times.
Right.
To the fence. I'm not sure.
Well, and that's the equation we have to look at, right? I mean, I don't want to get something that I'm going to have to replace 3 times in 5 years versus something I'll install and I'll revisit in 20.
Right.
Get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly right. So if you're putting up, netting that we're going to have to keep changing on a regular basis, then you're not really getting a value. So I think we need to keep on the course and try to make sure we get the best product possible. But not to divert too much from that subject, but we had 2 other items that we discussed as well, correct? Grove Park and Shank Park. A lot of recommendations. Yes, Loretta?
Well, and north and south side of Pierce Park, I laid out separately.
Yeah, I'm jumping over to Shank and
But she
Grow.
included some things
Yeah.
in her bullet list also.
my concern about utilizing ARP funds for the ball field is that since we're redesigning the ball field, that doesn't necessarily fall within the criteria of ARP. So we would have to look at some other source of revenue, which we had talked about using TIF revenue to try to cover that. So I think given the new prices that we're getting back in, you and I probably need to sit back down and look through the numbers and see if we can't, tap into the TIF, see if we have any room in those TIFs. We also have the second Prestwick TIF that's coming online. So it's possible that we could pull revenue out of that to cover some of this. Now in the Grove Park and the Shank Park, there were a number of items that are kind of low hanging fruit that were recommended by the group when we met at Grove Park. And I'd kind of like to kick those in the tail and get those done. And I believe those can be, I think you checked, Debbie, that most of those can be paid for through ARP. So to the extent that we can, I'd like to get those things moving. The ball field, we still have some details we have to cut through in order to get there. But I think these other things we can start working on right away. that about right, John? Now, there's some large things at Grow Park. We do need to discuss getting new play equipment at Grow Park. I think that while we're looking at ARP says that if the equipment has been used a lot and it's worn out, it has to be replaced because it's been, worn. I think we could say that Grow Park is worn. I'd also say that Locust Corner Park is worn. So perhaps we can get some economies of scale. We can buy 2 play sets for less. Maybe we can get a discount on a group purchase. I don't know, but I think we should start putting that out to bid sooner rather than later, so we can get moving on that as well. So we could get those play sets in place as soon as possible. So maybe even for next summer, so the kids can be playing on new equipment. And is Clanger's, they're working on some schematics.
Yes, all I've gotten so far was just a very rough start on the ball field layout, because if we do want to use the $10,000 grant, then I do need to have enough time to submit a revised scope, get it approved, so that we can see if we do want to pursue the one new ball field, assuming that we would demolish the existing fencing that's there on the front and the back ball field.
And we can do that, right? We can tear things up pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Good at that.
I had a feeling, call me over. I'll be happy to help. So yeah, I think that we just need to sit down and come up with, look at the numbers and see if we can take it out of the tips. We can get moving on that. And then all, some of these other things like that I'm looking at on this list, I think we can get. Do we need to approve those things? Do we need to make a motion? Do we need to, what do you need? Nothing, just.
Well, at this point, we need agreement before I engage. I mean, there are going to also be some fees associated with Clanger's work on this. We do have a bill so far, but it's not over the amount that I need to have.
But
to
ARP
approve,
requires that. They're going to require that.
What do you think about going ahead and making a motion to get some bids on the play equipment? If you think
Sure.
that might be covered.
I think
We
that's
got to
fine.
start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would put together the actual bid packages for us, but right now
Right.
they're doing
So,
estimates.
so just so everybody knows, we did some of the bid packages for the Learning Center, but the Learning Center was coming out of a different pot of money. ARP requires that there's, an engineer seal on things. And so all of this stuff has to be checked and double checked. And so, and she has to, there's reporting that is required from the fiscal office. So it requires a higher level of a review. So that said, did you want to make a motion?
So make a motion to go ahead and authorize the Parks Committee to collect bids on play equipment for Grow and Spencer Shank.
Okay.
Actually, be more the administrator.
I'll bring everything to the committee that we get from the engineer.
Okay.
Would that be inclusive of like picnic tables, or just, we're talking only play equipment at this point?
Well, right now it'd be play equipment because that's the hardest thing to get.
Okay, a second.
It would be for Grow Park and Pierce. It'd be
Shane's
Locust
pretty
Corner.
new from what
Yeah.
we were told.
I
Yeah.
misspoke.
It's
Be
Grow.
and Pierce.
Yeah, Grow and Pierce.
Yeah, it was just a little low over the day that we got some baseball coaches to get their opinion about netting and see how it's working.
Yeah, durability is really the important thing to me. Because I don't want to have to keep replacing it. I mean, we can get it at a bargain basement price, but I'm replacing it every couple of years. That's not going to work. So. Thank you.
Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay. Planning and zoning.
So boring stuff first here. Total 38 permits last month, which was again a really busy month for us. We had 14 new homes out of that total as well. So the houses are still coming pretty heavily. We had 19 new code cases and 6 variances. So that was also a record for variances. Year to date, we're at about 217 total permits. So last year it was about 240 or so total. And we still have another quarter to go, so we'll probably beat that as well.
Good.
But Ms. Kristin Cannon is she started last week, I believe, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago.
Seems longer, doesn't it?
Yep.
You're only off by
And-
50%.
Yep. And so she's been helping us with permitting, code enforcement, that sort of thing. She also has a lot of good design skills and social media skills. So definitely increase the bandwidth in our office so we can do a
Good.
lot more things as well.
Good.
Welcome aboard.
Anything else?
That's it.
We just have Stonehouse to deal with, right?
We do.
Any other announcements you can make on any economic development fronts?
Yeah, so actually with Stonehouse, it's good you mentioned that. We worked with Ms. Candace Davidson, who's sitting
Oh, hi.
back there.
Hey.
And she provided some good information about her proposal in, I guess it's in the Glen Mary neighborhood or so. And we posted on Facebook. It was actually the largest interaction we've ever had on Facebook. I think there were about 20,000 interactions with that post. Our prior biggest interaction was about 8,000. So it was a really, people were very excited about that and a lot of other projects we have coming online. So with the increased bandwidth and everything in our office, we're definitely going to be able to interact a little bit better with the community through social media and that sort of thing to really partner with private organizations and so forth to just kind of promote everything that's going on in the community.
Great.
Oh yeah, well, some other stuff too. We have a Big B Coffee was also approved recently. We've been working with them as well to kind of get a similar announcement on our Facebook page going as well.
And where will they be domiciled?
Right near the old Munchins.
Okay.
Cool. Yep.
So right in that Casey's block.
Oh, the Big B Coffee. Big B Coffee. I think that they're
Big B's. Big B's.
yeah.
Big.
Yep, that's right.
B's.
I'm having trouble hearing you too, actually. So.
Yeah.
So, Bonnie, you can grab coffee on your way to the county. And there's some other things coming, but we're just not, they're not ready to report yet, correct?
Yeah, just that's it as far as official applications and things that have come through. But as things come through officially, we're definitely looking to share as much as possible.
Now, so we're getting calls from a lot of different groups. So we have a meeting tomorrow. A crew, we're looking up and down the along 125 for business opportunities today. And then there's another group. Are we meeting with the other developers, or is that are we still waiting?
Well, so we do have the meeting tomorrow, and nothing else on tap just yet.
Okay.
But that's part of the thing with this kind of our bigger push to kind of interact a little bit more on social media is we're getting a lot of phone calls that we weren't ordinarily getting, a lot of emails and things, and people really inquiring to figure out, kind of how to invest in the community.
Right. All right. Well, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's all I've got.
Thanks. All right, Loretta, you're up.
Well, first thing I'll report is our law director has been stuck in traffic on 275. Apparently there's a crash at US 50. He's finally found out. He is still stuck in traffic. I don't know if it's both of them, or he said what he heard was it was a crash at 50. So well, he's stuck in that, and he's been stuck in it for more than an hour. So that's a terrible situation. So I don't know if he's going to be here at all, or if he should turn around and go home. So
It's not like a dog ate his homework thing. He's at the bar or something.
I don't think so. Sounds
I don't know
like a
about
real
that.
problem.
I know, that was the joke.
I don't know about that.
So we talked a little bit about American Rescue Plan funding strategies related to park improvements. We need to think in terms of other eligible projects. Chief Bachman is going to bring something forward this evening because of some cost increase over the original proposals that we had using the COVID funds. We also have items identified for economic development in the COVID study that was done. So perhaps we can plan some deeper thinking on eligible projects for use of that funding.
Sounds good.
I also wanted to mention that I'd shared with you a draft that Adele Evans had written on behalf of Batavia Township to share with other townships some of the former Amelia properties, some of the desks, some of the file cabinets, some of the chairs that may be usable to other public entities that they could benefit from. So she proposes to send a message with some pictures of some of those items through the Township Association, the County Township Association, to invite them, if they're interested in any of those items, to let us know before the auction. And then we could bring those lists back if there are any communities that we want to allow to take those. After talking to the auctioneer, they said, chairs, desks, that vintage of items might bring $5, in an auction. They're really not very valuable items, but they are of value and they were bought with public property. So we thought it was appropriate to offer it to other public entities in Clermont County. So unless there's an objection to that, I'll anticipate that she can proceed by putting that out soon. No problem. We've also been dealing with some real estate sales. We're still working on a proposal that we thought had come to fruition, but it still needs some more work. So we'll be probably bringing another commercial property sale forward next month. There's a few residential lots that we're working with, and she is working more on those on her side of the road. And I'll be working more on our side of the road. So as proposals come forward, when they need action, they'll be brought forward between the law directors and the administrators. So there are other items in progress that way. I think that's, unless you have any other specific questions for me, I think those are things that I wanted to bring up. And otherwise, we're just preparing for the auction. And when it's ready, then we have to do a legal advertisement, set the time, and it has to be advertised in the paper and follow the proper procedures. All of that will be shared as it's prepared.
Okay. Any questions?
Did we decide that through ARP that there's no option for funding for, let's say, public CPR courses for Pierce Township residents? Did we look into that? Is that not? I remember talking with somebody about it, but is that a possible option?
I have not personally. I don't know if Chief Wright's more familiar with those types of uses of funding. I've seen more allowances for police and fire staff, perhaps activities and training. But I'm not certain, but it's something that can be investigated.
I'm not sure. I'm happy to look into it. I can work with Debbie and see what we can find out.
Be great to offer that if we can, regardless of ARP funding, at some point, once things ease up, to make that offering available to township residents and of course the staff that's not already trained.
And with this funding, with the ARP funding, it's so different than the COVID funding, and you have to be really careful. And as I told the guys, I want to review it with our attorney too, because that was one of the things that they had said to be sure to do is funding by our attorney. Because these funds are very restricted more than the COVID.
Being the CARES Act, because these are both COVID funds.
But yeah. I guess because we now some.
Yeah. No, and it goes directly into our treasury, so it's very different than CARES, which we had to have a proposal in order to get funded. In this case, it's the other way around. The funding arrives and
They did extend the application to 5/14.
So, all right.
And I believe the ARP money, you have until 2024 to spend all of it. So we've received our first allocation.
Yes, so 2026 to spend all budget, 2024 to
Right.
appropriate.
All right. Anything else, Loretta?
No.
All right, there's nothing else. No more questions. It's, do we have any old business we needed to take care of? Okay, guess not. Let's move on to new business. Debbie, you're on.
I request a motion for approval of the payment of the payroll for the month of August in the amount of $396,329.77.
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
I request a motion for approval of the payment of the bills for the month of August in the amount of $280,417.07.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
I request a motion for resolution 2021-026, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
I request a motion for resolution 2021-027 to establish the annual assessment for Legendary Run and the Legendary Trails Lighting District. We're increasing that up to $6 on a year.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a roll call, or we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
And I request a motion to authorize the renewal of a prepaid time block for IT services from CSM Incorporated in the amount of $2,700.
Staying the same.
Yes.
So moved.
And how many hours was that? Like, how many hours was that?
It's once $2,700 is spent, then they come back to it. So it's like
It's
a
at
prepaid-
$90 an hour, so
Yeah, it's like a
2,700.
Divided by 90. Okay.
Yes.
90 an hour. Okay. Second. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
That's all I got. Honestly,
Mhm.
I was gonna be prepared if anybody had any questions about the lighting district, but oh,
There you go.
I brought my numbers.
All right, Chief Bachman, you're up.
Police Chief Jeff Bachman requests a motion to approve the sale of 15 Glock pistols from the Amelia Police Department to Hunter's Den to Amelia, a federal firearms licensed dealer, in the amount of $300 per pistol for a total of $4,500.
Moved.
You guys switching from Smith and Wesson?
We are not, these were the Amelia Police Department's pistols that we have.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on the matter?
Just a reminder that Batavia Township receives their share of the funds.
35%.
Right.
Here we go. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. All right, Jeff, you're still up.
Police Chief Jeff Bachman requests a motion to amend the previously approved motion from November 18th, 2020 for the purchase of materials for a police department storage building from CMT Components using the Covet fund line item. The original motion was for $25,813.63. The cost has increased to $29,262.52. So if anyone needs, we are getting a pool building built, a nice one. It was approved last year, and by the time it made it through all the inspections and everything, things have increased. As Mr. Dressy said, things are skyrocketing. So the price has gone up on material.
Frankly, given the cost of material, it's not a huge percentage increase.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Given the cost of material, it's not a huge increase percentage wise. It doesn't
Good.
seem to be at a glance. I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Chief Bachman, you're still up.
And along those same lines, Police Chief Jeff Bachman requests a motion to amend the previously approved motion from November 18th, 2020 for the purchase of electrical materials and installation by Scott Wilburn, electrician, for Police Department storage building using the Covet fund line item. The original motion was for $9,800 and the cost has increased to $12,250.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And
Yes. All right, so we'll move to Chief Wright. Number 11.
I request a motion to approve the annual lease payment to US Bank Corp for the E1 fire engine in the amount of $53,865.46.
So moved.
Second.
And this is the payment on the truck.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes. All
I
right,
request a motion to approve the purchase of a 14-foot tandem utility trailer from Gatorade Incorporated in the amount of $3,590, noting that this trailer is for the police and fire department's joint UTV project. So we had hoped to have, Chief Bachman and I have been working on this for quite some time. We'd hope to have a motion also before you tonight to consider the purchase of a UTV. We have a quote back from John Deere for a Gator. They're about 8 months out. We're waiting back for Polaris to get pricing, and they had hoped to have their updated government pricing this week, but they didn't make it in time. So the trailer's in stock, sitting at a dealership in Mount Orb. So Chief Bachman and I talked about it. We'd like to move forward with the trailer so that we have it instead of waiting till we approve everything and then not be able to find the trailer and have to wait months trying to find one.
makes sense.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, Director Kohler, you're up.
Service Director John Kohler requests a motion to accept the quote of $10,891.60 for complete seal coat and crack seal of the cemetery lot from BMG Asphalt.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Director, you're still up.
Service Director John Kohler requests a motion to accept the quote of $4,500 for the painting of the administration building and meeting room from Tiki Solutions. The original guy that I got cannot be found.
Painter
Interesting.
that you lose track of and can't find. That's crazy.
I don't know.
Never heard of
It's-
that before. They usually disappear at lunch.
Yeah.
They usually at least wait till lunchtime.
Kind of like roofers that way.
That's true.
We didn't give him any money. We never saw him. This Tiki Solutions is Gary Strunk that used to work over in the fire department. So he's a good, trustworthy person. I know he'll show up and take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds
Move
good.
approval.
I joke the roofers have probably a worse reputation.
I'm just a little worried about, the design with a name like Tiki.
Yeah.
Quite elegant in here.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Planning and zoning administrator, Eddie McCarthy, you're up.
I request a motion for resolution 2021-028 to authorize a right-of-way use agreement with Stonehouse LLC.
You have a little bit more detail on that, Eddie?
Sure. Yeah, so Stonehouse LLC is looking to renovate and expand upon and begin operations of a bar restaurant in the Amelia area. Their drive proposal is to come off of Pondview Lane there. The problem is that the maintenance ends just short of kind of what would be advisable for them to build a sufficient driveway. So what they're proposing to do is use about 100 feet of length of our right of way to build a bit of a driveway to give them a little bit more maneuverability for their parking lot. And so this easement is basically, not an easement, I'm sorry, it's a license agreement to work with Stonehouse LLC to enable them to properly design their parking lot and use the right of way for the operation of their business.
On this, Eddie, did that include any kind of concrete curbing, or is this just basically blacktop?
Yeah, it's basically blacktop on a gravel base,
Okay.
and it's going to be about 25 feet wide. So that'll provide 2 lanes for traffic, but no curb or gutter or anything.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Eddie?
I request a motion for the Board of Trustees to enable the Planning and Zoning Administrator to appoint Kristin Cannon as an additional zoning inspector personnel in accordance with section 2.06A8 of the zoning resolution, and removing authorization from the Administrator Loretta Roque to serve in this role. And there is no need to renew the bond, which is expiring on September 13th.
Your badge, Loretta? Do we have a badge you need to return us? Your gun and badge? Why not a gun?
Could you explain that to me about the bond a little bit? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
Yeah, the bond, so in order to serve as a zoning inspector in the state of Ohio, you have to have a bond in order to defray kind of liability, that sort of thing. And so Loretta was,
Okay.
and so Loretta's bond is expiring conveniently on September 23rd.
Okay.
Or September 13th.
Okay. I make the motion. Thank you for answering
All
that.
right, a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. All right, so Loretta, you're up.
Yes. So Chief Bachman's going to need to back me up on this one. So I request a motion for resolution 2021-029 to authorize a contract with Moore's Property Restoration to construct a police storage facility using, actually, and I don't have this correct. I meant to change this to American Rescue, correct? Recovery plan. No, it's rescue, I think, actually, as it's written on
Okay, we'll go with your words.
American Rescue Plan funding, because I changed what was on the resolution before. That's what I had. Not the COVID CARES Act. There's been some confusion between the availability and usability of those 2 different sources. So in a conversation with Tom Keating, we did believe that we can cover this facility using the American Rescue Plan funds. So that's what we were pursuing, and Chief Bachman can speak to the need. And again, the cost increases from when he originally proposed this facility.
So I guess that leads me to a question. The funds were originally CARES Act. So we were granted the CARES Act funds initially. Will that not cause a backflow in our budgeting, because we now have to back out CARES Act?
No, we're using some of what he has appropriated in the CARES Act.
Okay.
That's still going to be used.
Okay.
The 2 prior motions that also increased.
So then the increase will be paid for. So the 4,000 or so, it takes me a while, but I get there.
You got
All
it.
right, I got it. Okay. Thank you.
Jeff and I have been going around and around and letting Loretta, and it's like, oh my gosh.
And I still missed one.
But anyway,
I got it. Okay.
All right.
She answered that question. for me.
Yeah, she did. She did a good job too.
I mean, we still need I think we should get something for audit, something in writing from the law director
We have to
to
have
put
that.
in the file for this purchase, but this is
The
a,
resolution.
Okay, yeah, we'll have both to back it up. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah. All right, good. I'll make the motion.
All right, we got a motion.
Yes, second.
We have a motion and a second
as corrected using American Rescue Plan.
as corrected. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
because they're going to be auditing this very. strictly.
Oh, I know. That's important.
And I got a name on it on the last audit.
Don't want a D on this one.
A plus this time.
There you go.
That's next.
I think you'll know more than the auditors.
All right, Loretta, you're still up.
Yes, and this is just a simple motion to back up what I've already done. So all of you received information about the township appointments that were due for the District 10 and Public Works Integrating Committee. We had up to 3 to vote for, but I was certain of 2 that we would want to approve. And that is to continue the appointments of Alan Freeman and Tom Peck to serve on the District 10 Integrating Committee. And those would be the votes coming from Pierce Township. So I did make that unless you tell me to go back and rescind that.
Well,
So
I
I'd
think we
like a
need a little
motion to affirm
discussion. on it.
that. Affirm my vote for us.
Maybe a little bit of discussion. Just rubber
What
stamp
if one
these
of us
guys. Who
wants
are we
that?
dealing
Right.
with
You
here?
gotta
We
hold
really
this
don't-
over till October.
Others were
Table
not on
the
the
motion.
list from Claremont County. Those are the only ones on the list.
There you go.
I'll move for the motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes. Yes to Tom Pack.
There you go. You're abstaining on yours. but-
Yes. So it's a half yes.
Yeah.
Still got 2.
All right, is that it? Do you have anything else, Loretta?
I think that's it, other than to be reminded that we need to confirm the date for the special meeting. to be
Yes.
scheduled. You may want to go ahead and jump down to do that so we don't miss it.
So just so everybody understands, we're doing an enterprise, we've been putting in place an enterprise zone for the business area around the village of Amelia in Pierce Township. One of the first projects that came forward is, of course, the Stonehouse property. And so in order to get that moving along, we have to actually apply for the enterprise zone abatements through the county. And so the county has asked us to, we were going to hold the vote at the October meeting, but the county has asked us to move that up. And so that's now necessitated a special meeting, and we just have to pick a date when that special meeting will be held. And then we can debate and discuss the abatement for the Stonehouse project. So what dates were we looking at, Eddie?
September 24th or 27th, was it?
One was a Monday and the other one's a Wednesday.
Yeah. Couple different days, but I don't know if it was the 22nd or 29th, but I can.
We might have to move that.
Yeah, I think you were looking at the 27th and the 29th.
27th and 29th.
5:30.
Okay.
I could do either.
I would suggest Wednesday, 6 o'clock,
Okay.
if that's okay with you all.
Which date?
Wednesday.
29th. All right.
Is that 6 o'clock?
Yes. That works for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Does that work for you? All right. We've got, that's it. So it's a federal designation that allows for, it tries to encourage investment in particular areas. So we designated kind of our business district as the area of interest for the enterprise zone. So it allows us to do abatements for a variety of different reasons. One could be, to try to encourage a business. Another one could be just to try to allow them to fix up their facade. So a variety, and again, I've had this discussion with several other residents. We're not talking about huge dollar amounts here, like, you hear from other communities where it's like $10 million in abatements. These are generally smaller abatements, cap out somewhere around 100, 150,000. And it also depends on the property and how much the developer is investing. So it's a federal designation. We have to do ours through the county. And so that's what we've done. Okay, we've got that scheduled. We're good. Okay, then we can move on to other business. Do we have any other business? If you're going to talk, you need to come up here. Oh, was it a question? Come on up. Well, why don't you hold till public comment? We're not quite there yet. Wait till public comment. Just wait. We're almost there. I'm going to go into that in just a second. All right. If there isn't any other business, because
I don't think I forgot.
Mr. Anson, his pants wants to get up here. So, yeah. We'll move on into public comment, open floor discussion.
Quick things. We are scheduled, something you mentioned before, Pete, about CPR and all those kind of things.
Yes.
In our planning for events, we're planning a health safety event in the months to come where we can have Craig and his team there to offer CPR training, dog resuscitation like we do. I know we've got that kind of stuff, but maybe a health thing where we can do blood pressure and, maybe if I can get Hawksworth, maybe we can get Hawksworth come out and do a blood draw too. So we're planning something like that, just so you know.
Okay.
The other thing I have is for Jeff and Craig and John. Do all of your staff are they aware of estate planning, and do they all have wills? Well, the reason I brought it up is I saw a clip about an outfit. I think it's an organization that comes out and does estate planning or wills for public servants, employees, because they're all in jeopardy. All your employees are in jeopardy positions potentially. Okay. It would be prudent, I think, to have all of your folks have wills. It's a result of the 9/11 incident where a lot of the firefighters, the 43 or so that died, did not have wills. Okay. So I think it would behoove you guys to look into that, or if you want me to give you the contact information, I will, but either through this organization or some other way, encourage your folks to have wills. At any point in time, they could go. Okay, so just a thought. Okay.
Mark, on your point about the health fair, I think that's the dog CPR part. I think that's a great idea. It's really not that complicated, but this is also an opportunity for the township to oh, Tom, just in time. You're almost. So
We don't have to pay for this, do we?
Last one in buys drinks.
So anyway, as I was saying, Mark, this is an opportunity very possibly for the township, possibly the fire department, EMS, police, to partner with SPCA Cincinnati. We're always looking for opportunities to partner with organizations outside of Hamilton County. SPCA Cincinnati is a regional organization now. We serve the tri-state. So we serve facilities from Adams County to Northern Kentucky, Indiana. So this is a great opportunity to network with SPCA Cincinnati, and I can make that contact for you. The director, the chairman and chief executive officer of SPCA Cincinnati is a Pierce Township resident. So yes, Mike Retzlaff, a very good man. He's done a fantastic job. He's been operations manager at SPCA Cincinnati probably on the order of 20 years. He's done a great job and he's a good man. So an opportunity that presents itself there.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
of all Site 13 White Court. Say Merry Christmas to everyone. It's that time of year that I come around and tell everybody that we're gonna have a parade.
Excellent.
So we are going to do as we have in the past years, except for last year. We have lost our lineup area because Big Ben's bargain bins or whatever he has up there is in that space, plus Casey's is up there. We don't want to interfere with anything they got going on. My team was Roy and Tim, myself. I asked Roy and Tim. Yes, Roy. I rehired. He didn't make a meeting, I fired him because he didn't come to a meeting, but I rehired him.
That's good. That's good.
All I had to do was ice cream.
Oh, geez.
But they're gonna find new paths, are beginning and ending, so that we can continue to go down 125. The date will be Sunday, December the 12th, 2 o'clock. And any questions? We have a Facebook page. You can reach out to me on there. Send me an email. My phone number's on everything, just about. Let me know. Who wants to volunteer?
I'll volunteer. But can we, since, we've got, this whiz kid over here, social media person, can we make sure that you link in with her Facebook page so we can get it moved around and maximized?
You'll send us your announcement also.
Yeah, that way we can maximize
We will do
the
that.
coverage. That'd be perfect.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
And before you go, just to make it clear in front of John here too, if he didn't already hear, because I had talked to Adele about this, and from what I understand, it's Batavia Township's turn
Oh, yes,
to
it
pull
is.
the sled.
That is correct. I did talk with them last night. I left that part out.
No, I'm perfectly fine. I figured that. That was gonna be one of my questions.
Yeah.
But you have to dress as an elf this year.
I think I would probably look better as Santa.
So yeah, we're gonna go back with the last year's plan. But you can obviously put whatever you want in the parade.
Oh, yeah.
All the cruisers, all the trucks, and everything. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Steve, hi Bonnie, how you doing? See you twice here, that's good. My name's Rick Combs, I live at 6260 Arrow Point in Loveland, Ohio. Debbie, I always knew it was Debbie, always. And Loretta, you missed it the last time I was here, so.
So now you get to see the show.
Well, not a show, no, I'm not having a show. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about consultants in the police and fire world. They're all connected. Just so you know, the Green Coat Club, as we all call them, right, Jeff? The Green Coat Club.
I
The guys that go around and do these consultants' jobs, they get paid because police chiefs or fire chiefs bring them in to do an assessment. Generally because politicians won't make the hard decision. They want to lay it off on somebody else. You're well aware of that, Alan. You've seen that before. So I'm just saying this. We went through a lot of complaints, then it got escalated because it didn't stop for whatever reason. Then we have our attorneys involved, 2 or 3 of them by my count, all of them well-educated with years and years of experience. I don't have that many doctors. And then we went through that. And now we went through another barrage of things that we all know about. I think you all just need to make a decision and move on, because you won't be happy with the consultant's report. It will be in the middle. It'll be neutral. It will not tell you who needs to go and who needs to stay. It'll cause you to spend a bunch of money on things that will maybe be helpful to the fire department and maybe not. I've never seen one that wasn't. And I've been involved in several of them over the years, as Loretta will attest to. It always came back to me for making a decision. So that's all I'm saying. Be careful who you sign a contract with, because there's a lot of police or a lot of fire, very high-ranking officials through this. And I can assure you that they know the circuit of these people, because I knew them. I'm sure Jeff knew a lot of them in the city. That's what they do for a living, is sell themselves to whoever hires them. Just think it over. You made a comment last week, and I agreed with you. the more lawyers you have involved only causes you more liability. I think somebody needs to sit down and do some talking. Things might be able to be worked out. I don't know that. I don't know how far it's went on either end. But I do know that a bunch of lawyers, 3 of them running around with a briefcase, probably is not helping much to get through what you need to get through. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Renee Gerber, 30 Hummingbird Way, Amelia. I just wanted to touch on a couple of Amelia issues. That no Duke bill was paid this month by Amelia. We've reached out to Bill to find out why that wasn't done. So in case the lights go out in Amelia, that's going to be why. I also reached out to Representative Byrd on the fact that Amelia has not had a meeting in 2 months, yet they continue to get paid. I don't understand it, and nobody has an answer. I've wrote to the Attorney General every day since their thing came out and haven't got an answer. You answered the auction question that I had. And then the lighting district, I did share again because of the uptick in crime. I did talk to your new officer. She was wonderful. Last week, she came to the door because we have cameras, wanted us, and we can't figure out how to work our system. That's 30 Hummingbird Way. Anyway.
I agree with you. The ring system.
It's all too much for me. I can't work my phone. I got to ask my 7-year-old granddaughter to do that for me. I did make some comments, and you can tell I'm a little calmer this week, but I'm still concerned as a citizen reading the Claremont Sun and seeing the assistant chief of the fire department publicly bash for everyone to see. And what kind of scares me a little bit is nobody else in this room has addressed this issue, not one resident. And I see the person that's supposed to represent us in the Claremont Sun and brought her personnel jacket with him, even after the Claremont Sun had already requested her record. What is the point? What was the point of that? And why was there no legal issue, or why was he not told to be quiet instead of going out in public with this? It just puts a bad light on Pierce Township altogether, not to mention up here, but there. And a couple other questions I've had, I don't know if y'all think I don't know stuff, but I'm kind of concerned too that you 3, and I don't know what happens behind closed doors, and you may be concerned why you did not get all the information in your packet to make the decision that you made last month. Again, you may be doing something behind the scene, but now that this is out in the public and everything is out there, y'all need to be talking about this and what you're going to do instead of 45 minutes, no offense to the park committee, and I even told Michelle, but talking about parks for 45 minutes and not one word about this tonight, not one word. So it just concerns me as a citizen and somebody who's running for office that these issues are not publicly taken care of. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on down, Bonnie. Do you want your old chair back?
Please get on my chair. I don't know if you saw the email from Dennis Cooper that came out today about Halloween.
Yes.
And Moscow voted to change Halloween from Halloween to the 30th.
I don't know if you recall, but a few years back, I got slammed because it was brought up by another township that when we were going to have the side winds come through that horrible year, that they wanted to change Halloween to a different day because they were afraid about the kids going out. Remember that, Craig? And some trustees and some of the townships went berserk. Halloween is Halloween. Batavia Township voted last night. Halloween is October 31st. I would hope that you would consider, if not, you're going to have some entities having Halloween on the 30th, some on the 31st. So my suggestion, from past experience, you don't want to go down that road.
Actually, I like that idea because then I can go from community to community.
That's what I thought,
and trick or
Alan.
treat.
I knew you would want to do that. But, you know, if you do that, you're just going to have other cities and everything coming and thinking they're going to get to buy your child a bag of candy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Anyone else? All right. All right, well, then with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. I don't think we need to discuss that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And Mr. Freeman.
Yes.